Guys, Katie here. Welcome back to another of my Madoka Exedra video. So in today's video, I'll be touching on the topic of portraits and what are the general recommendations that I would suggest to you guys for the different type of class in this game. For example, breaker, attacker, so on and so forth. Okay, so just take note that as this is just a general recommendation, it might not be the best in slot. So let's start off with the most important role in this game, which I would say definitely is breaker. So for breaker, there are two types of portrait which I would recommend. First is increased MP recovery rate, which will enable your breaker to be able to use their special attack on a much faster skill. If you are interested in knowing how MP work in this game, just let me know in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. Yep. So the first type of recommendation would be some kind of portrait like this, which I have, that increase your MP recovery rate. And the second type will be to increase the speed of your breaker, because it's actually quite self-explanatory. Because the more turn that your breaker has, right, the more damage she is able to deal to the boss break gauge, thus increasing the speed which she is able to break the boss. Yep. Therefore, for breaker, generally I would recommend these two type of portraits. Okay, do take note that please ignore break effect portraits, as they are typically useless. Yep, just ignore any portrait which give you break effect, because right now the only thing that will enable you to deal more damage to the boss, right, is increased break gauge reduction. Just let me show you an example. If you can look at this Madoka on her battle skill, you are able to see that she is able to increase break gauge depletion if her own HP is more than 80%. Yep, this is what you are looking for if you would like to deal more damage to the boss break gauge. And this works very differently from break effect. So for breaker, just ignore any portraits which say break effect, as I think that is the most useless stats in the game right now. Okay, so moving on to the next role, which will be attacker. So for attacker is very straightforward. For attacker, right, you just would like to focus on the portrait which will give you the highest base stats, yeah, for attack. So as you can see, for these portraits which that I have, right, it is able to give you the base stat of attack plus 271. Okay, so although mine is still not capped, but this is generally what you want to look out for. And for attacker, you also want to look out for portrait which will increase your overall attack or increase your overall damage dealt. Yeah, these are the two kind of portraits which you are looking for. Because as compared to portraits such as giving you critical damage, giving you critical hit rate up, this kind of portrait are generally less niche, because you need to understand, in order for abilities such as increased critical hit rate, increased critical damage, right, the critical hit needs to happen. Yep, and if the critical hit do not happen, the ability generally does not goes off, and it will lead to a loss of DPS in the long run. So as compared, I would say for attacker, increase attack, increase damage dealt will generally be more useful for them. And moving on to the next role, which is Buffle. For Buffle, it's just very simple. For Buffle, just go all out on portraits, which will increase your speed. Because you need to understand in this game right now, the buff which the Buffle give do not skews off any specific stats of the Buffle. For example, there is no increased damage based on the percentage of the attack of the Buffle. There is no increased speed based on the base attack of the Buffle. Yep, there is no such skew as this. So for Buffle, I would just recommend to go all out on portraits, which will give you the highest speed. Yep, through the ability. And beside that, another thing which is beneficial for giving speed, right, is because if the buff is still on and is your Buffle turn, you can just use basic attack to conserve on the skill point, because skill point is very important for end game content, and the only characters right now that is able to give additional skill point is just the Homura. So yep, speed is definitely very precious, and I would say it is the type of portraits that Buffle would like to go for. And moving on to Defendo. For Defendo, I would say just focus on portraits which will give them the highest base defense. Because for Defendo, right, their shield skills of defense, and yep, just go for portrait which will give them the highest base defense. And of course, you can also look out for portrait which will maximize their HP if they give you a high amount of defense. Okay, so as their main responsibility is to apply the shield and to help your team to sustain through the fight. And for healer, you will want to go for portraits which will give them HP recovery amount. For example, this portrait over here. So yep, although for healer, their HP recovery skill is skill on HP, right? But I think in the long run, increased HP recovery amount portraits will be more beneficial to a healer, as it will benefit your whole team, because HP is quite restrictive, as it just improves the stats of your healer, and it is not really very beneficial to your whole team. So when compared to a portrait that is able to increase the HP recovery amount, right, I would say that a portrait which is able to give you HP recovery amount increase is definitely more beneficial. Okay, and the last role that we should touch on is Debuffer. For Debuffer is also very straightforward. A Debuffer main role is just to apply the debuff. Yeah. Okay, so if you have done the latest tower, which is tower level 30, the Mermaid Witch, you should know that one of the key mechanic of the Mermaid Witch is if she does not have an element status on her at the start of every turn, she will just keep increasing her speed, and it will lead to a very bad ending for your team. So for Debuffer, I would say the key portraits which you should look for is definitely some portraits which is able to give you increased element hit rate, so you are able to land your status elements such as stun, such as wound more regularly to tackle with the boss mechanic and to make sure that the debuff on your debuffer lands. And on top of that, beside increased element hit rate, I would say another kind of portrait which I would also recommend is also increased speed. Yep, so for example, in PvP, I believe the status resistance of in PvP is close to 0 and you tends to land your debuff very regularly. In that case, you can go for portraits which increase your overall speed of your debuffer, because as we all know, right, Felicia is basically OP in Arena, and the Felicia which is able to first land the AoE hit stun will normally wins the game. Yeah, or I would say wins the battle in the arena. So yeah, for debuffer, look for either portraits which will increase your overall element hit rate, or to look for portrait which will increase your overall speed. Okay, so I would say that this gives you guys a very general recommendation on what are the type of portraits that you guys should be used on the different characters based on their different classes. So I hope that this video today has provided you guys with some value. With this, we have come to the ending of the video. If you do like this video, do consider sharing, giving a like, subscribing, doing all those good things. Yep, and I will see you in the next video. So till next time, bye.